We can have only one weird power dynamic. We cannot have two. It's if there is a scene where you are graphically seeing ass eating, the graphic ass eating, I hate. Hi everyone, my name is Allie. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to do a sort of wrap up for the year. Basically, I'm going to talk about my favorite and least favorite books that I read this year. Some of these books I'm going to talk about as being my favorite. If you go back on my Goodreads or Fable, you're probably going to see that I didn't even rate them 5 stars. However, when you're rating a book, you can't tell how it's gonna sit with you for the rest of the year, and most of these favorites have really sat with me through the year, and I continuously think about them and gravitate towards them. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna alternate between talking about my favorite and my least favorite books of the year. One of my first favorite books that I read last year was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry. I will read anything she writes. I will read her grocery list. Going into Happy Place, I was a little bit concerned because I heard mixed things and I was like, oh, I don't know. But I loved Happy Place. I think Happy Place is top 2 Emily Henrys for me. If you didn't know, Happy Place is about Harriet and Wynne. They were together for a really long time. They shared a friend group and everything, but then they broke up 6 months prior to this book starting, except they're going on this vacation with all their friends that they go on every year, and they have to act like they're still together for this vacation. This book, yes, is about Harriet and Wynne, but also it has themes of growing older and friendship and what your friendships look like as you get older. Love, platonic love. I absolutely adored this book. I really, really loved it, a lot. The first book I want to talk about as the least favorite is one of my first flops of the year last year, and that was Dream Girl Drama by Tessa Bailey. So I started listening to this on Spotify because I was going on a long walk and I was like, I kind of want to listen to an audiobook while I do this. I started listening to it because I read the description. This description did say they were going to be future step siblings, and so I am a nosy and I was like, I gotta know the tea. So basically this is about, I think his name is Sydney. What? Am I making that up? I was close. His name is Sig and Chloe, and they have this meet cute. He's like, I just met my dream girl. She's like, this is my dream guy. Sparks are flying, and then they're like, okay, well, we're both busy this evening, so let's meet up later tonight. And it turns out the plans that they both had for that evening were the same plans, and it was because their parents are going to marry each other, so they're about to be step siblings, but they're like, wait, but I'm so in love at first sight with this person, And it gets worse because she's moving to Boston, and they're like, Sig, you have to look after Chloe. Anyway, vibes were okay with this book, but I feel sometimes vibes can carry a book to have a good rating for me, but unfortunately for this book, the vibes were not enough. I don't know what it was, you just could not get me to care about either of these characters. I also just this is gonna sound crazy, but they cared about the stepbrother stepsister thing way too much for my liking. And not that it isn't a big deal, however, it was brought up I think every other sentence. It gets to a point, if y'all are having and then the guy's inner monologue is she's gonna be my little sister though. I just couldn't. I did Jason Clary in middle school. I can't do that again. I did not care enough about either of these characters, whether or not they were actually gonna be step siblings. I really didn't care. Bridget, get down here. You little shit. Come here. That's enough on that. This next book that I'm going to talk about as being one of my favorites honestly really shocked me as it being one of my favorites, and that was Beg, Borrow, and Steal by Sarah Adams. Sorry, Beg, Borrow, or Steal. This is book 3 in the When in Rome series that she wrote. It's small town vibes, and it follows a group of siblings and each of their love story. This one was about Emily and Jack. The other 2 books in the series, which were When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect, I thought I liked those books. I thought I loved those books. How much I like those books really pales in comparison to how much I love this one. Again, this is about Emily and Jack. Emily is a elementary school teacher. So is Jack. Jack is new in town. She has dreams of being a writer, and he is secretly a best-selling author. This book, I don't even know how to describe it. So good, so good. I think about these two all the time. I've read some other Sarah Adams books, and I feel the When in Rome series is like her best work so far, but I think she really knocked it out of the park with Beg, Borrow, or Steal. Like, this was like, I genuinely don't have like the words to describe. Like, if you've read it, you know these two are just so perfect for each other, and I think that is a common theme throughout the When in Rome series. Like, they really find their perfect pairing. By the way, they start off as like he's her nemesis. This book is just, it's everything. I loved it. I loved it so much. I definitely recommend the entire When in Rome series, but especially this book. The next flop of the year has to go to Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I was so disappointed that I didn't like this book. I love a cowboy romance. I went through an entire phase last year where I was like, I think I'm gonna move to Wyoming. I was like, I think I'm gonna move to Wyoming and like go live on a ranch somewhere. I love a cowboy romance. I love it so much. This one, however, felt so flat for me. This is about Emmy and Luke. She like used to live in this like small town with the ranch family and their childhood friends, and she moves back, and I don't know, I'm finding it. I really did not like this mailman character. I really did not like him. I feel like the way he was written to just be the archetype of like the bad boy, like the classic Wattpad, like you know, like Mafia Harry Styles. Like, I don't know how to like fully describe it, but I feel like certain actions he did were more so he would fit this like archetype of being a bad boy rather than would have been something he would actually be motivated to do that was like true to his character. I also felt like there was some unnecessary violence, not towards the woman. It was not domestic. It was like him defending her. And I literally remember, I don't really care if this is spoilers because it has nothing to do with it. He did some violence towards another person to defend her. She was like, normally I would find that weird and break up with him, but why was it kind of hot? And I was like, I can't, sorry. I do plan on continuing the series at some point because I have heard that like it does get better, especially with the third and fourth book. In the third and fourth book, I have read like the summaries and I want to read. Hopefully the series gets better because I was really disappointed that I didn't like this book. Okay, on a much better note, the next favorite of the year was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan just has a way with words that makes me, if I open up one of her books, I'm gonna feel every single emotion. I'm gonna cry out of sadness. I'm gonna cry out of love. I'm gonna really feel with her characters, which I really appreciate in a romance book because romance books are typically character driven. The character's emotional development. So with Before I Let Go, amazing. This is the first book in the Skyland series. I need to finish this series. This book is about Yasmin and Josiah. They had gotten a divorce, and it starts out with them going through the motions of what their life looks like after their divorce. But you're also getting this perspective of them when they were first falling in love and first getting married and all of these things. In this book, they also have kids together because they've been married, and they also have this restaurant together. This book also talks a lot about grief in a really beautiful way. I don't know, I just feel like Kennedy Ryan has such an amazing understanding on emotion and what it's like to experience emotion and how to write that in a way so you are feeling with her characters. Like, I think she's an absolutely amazing writer, and this book like really just blew me out of the water. I would say if you're gonna go into this, check trigger warnings because you do feel a lot, and there are some pretty devastating things mentioned in this book, but it was just so good. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I only wrote down 3 flops and I didn't realize that 2 of the flops were by the same author. This next flop is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. Okay, so maybe Tessa Bailey isn't an author for me and I should not be reading her books. I was doing some, research into books about that have type 1 diabetes representation because I have type 1 diabetes. I read Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood, which I will talk about next because I really like that book. But I also found out that Tessa Bailey's daughter was type 1 diabetic and that she wrote this book with type 1 diabetes representation, and I was really excited, and I really did enjoy the representation of type 1 diabetes in this book. I think she did a good job with that. However, the rest of the book so this is about, I'm forgetting their names. Let me look this up. This is about Wells and Josephine. Also, I think this is the same series as the stepbrother one, the Dream Girl drama. This is about Wells and Josephine. Wells is a disgraced, down on his luck, flopping golfer. He plays golf. Also, if you remember the meme of this graphic, This is the book I'm talking about. And I didn't realize this was the book until I was like halfway through and I was like, wait, why did I read this? Disgrace, down on his luck, golfer that nobody likes anymore. He's flop, you know. And he has one fan left that comes to like all of his meets and has a sign and everything, and that is, you guessed it, the female main character, Josephine. He is like trying to get back in the game and try and like have fans again and be good again, and so he offers her a job as his caddy. I hated the dynamic between the male main character and the female main character, because not only does he have a leverage over her of her being a fangirl of his, like I don't really like that dynamic of like fan and fangirl. He also is like her boss, and I'm like, we can have only one weird power dynamic. We cannot have two. We can choose one. So that was problem number one. Also, if you know one thing about me, it's if there is a scene where you are graphically seeing ass eating, the book automatically gets a star taken off of the rating. I don't care. My number one pet peeve in books is graphic ass eating. I hate that shit. And that's, you know, entirely my fault. I am not gonna sit here and bean soup and be like, well, I hate eating scenes, so you should not be writing them into books. Like, no, I get that. That is entirely my fault. But that's not even like my biggest issue. I just like, man was a douchebag. Two weird power dynamics. That already was like, I don't really like this. I also was having a thing again where I was like, I don't really care about either of these characters. So the ass eating was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Tessa Bailey, I'm sure you're a lovely woman and you did represent type 1 diabetes very well in this book. I think your depiction of type 1 diabetes, very good. Love it. 10 out of 10. You know, thank you for talking about the insulin affordability crisis, because it's a thing, you know. I really appreciate that. However, the rest of the book I couldn't do, and I don't think Tessa Bailey is an author for me. One of my next favorites is also a book where type 1 diabetes is represented. Unlike the last book where I loved the diabetes representation but I hated the book, I love the diabetes representation and I loved the book, and that is Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. I absolutely adored this. I think Allie Hazelwood just knows how to put crack in her novels. I'm obsessed. I love Jack in this book. He was the male main character. It's about Jack and Elsie. Elsie is a theoretical physicist. She's currently an adjunct professor, and she has this side gig where she pretends to be people's girlfriends. For one of her clients, the brother absolutely hates her guts. At least that's what she thinks. You know, for some reason she's like, yeah, this guy doesn't really like me. Then she gets a job interview for like a really good position. She wouldn't be adjunct professor anymore. One of the people that are going to be like, you know, on the panel of interviewers deciding if she gets the job is Jack, the guy's older brother. Now, before you're like, Allie, you were just talking about weird power dynamics, like what the I don't think this is a spoiler. It shouldn't be, because it doesn't have anything to do with like the actual plot of the book. Because of a like, you know, conflict of interest, he is not part of the interviewing like committee anymore. I forget what it's called. He like pretty quickly took himself off of that committee. That power dynamic out of the way. Loved this book. It was so good. I was just like the entire time. Such a good book. This book was just so good, and the two characters together, like, I loved it. I also loved the portrayal of how he cared about her diabetes. I love them so much. I think Allie Hazelwood did such a good job with this book. I also, once again, am really grateful for a non-diabetic talking about the insulin affordability crisis, because it's a super real thing. And both her and Tessa Bailey did this in their books. But yeah, I loved Love Theoretically. I really liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to. The last book I'm going to talk about is not another flop. It's my favorite book of the year. I picked this up on a whim, read it in less than 24 hours, and absolutely loved it, like became obsessed with it. My favorite book of the year was The Favorites by Lane Fargo. This book, holy shit. I'm gonna preface this by saying this is not a romance. I feel like it's marketed as romance, but it's not. It's more literary fiction. This is about Katarina Shaw and Heath Roca. This is a retelling of Wuthering Heights, by the way. It's less retelling and more inspired by. It's about this ice dancing, like pair ice dancing couple and their journey from when they were kids to being adults and everything that they went to and all the scandals, their obsession with winning, because they were also in a romantic relationship during their career. This is told like a documentary. There are parts of the book where it's like interviews with different people that you meet throughout the story, and then also you get Katarina's perspective of like what actually happened. She was there, what was going on. This really truly at its core is a story about obsession with each other, obsession with winning, who is doing what for what reasons. It's so good. I think about this quite often. I want to say every day. Like, this book, it just has stuck with me so much. It was definitely my favorite book of last year. It was just beautiful. I can't recommend it enough. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you're watching, leave a comment down below with what your favorite book of 2025 was. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.